I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, June the 24th, where we continue to see surprising support from the board. We're not sure where it's coming from. It's not fundamentally, but we see the June and August contracts continuing the disparage that we're unclear why that's happening. We saw June down, making a wider basis there as we get closer to maturity, and that's not the norm. And then August, when we know that we have a lot of market-ready cattle, it went up big and all the way to 97.20 there. But we do agree that as we get further into the fall, yeah, there is going to be a spot there where we had low placements during the COVID-19, and there could be a hole, although we feel that it's probably going to be backfilled by cattle that weren't able to get scheduled and weren't able to get harvested through the pandemic, and they're going to wash down into that hole and kind of backfill it. But unclear where that's coming from, but your feeder cattle board was quite a bit higher, and that's a great deal as we're marketing a lot of yearling feeder cattle off grass. Now we've seen the cattle off of wheat come through already, and pretty much not any of those left as the wheat is already dried up, but we're now starting to see some of your grass cattle already, especially your double stock pastures there in your major grazing regions, and some of those starting to get a little bit dry, and they're moving those cattle on, and some of the guys wanting to take advantage of this market here before it goes away. But yeah, the feeder board being up like this, who does it help? It doesn't help your feeder cattle buyers, they're wanting to lay those cattle off and hedge those cattle. Your August was up big, but that wasn't any help either, because those cattle are going to be further towards the end of the year. So it doesn't help your feeder cattle buyers. It makes your people that have feeder cattle ready for sale want more money. Whether they can get that or not is kind of tough, but the ones that really helps is those that sold their cattle in the country on the basis, on the feeder board basis there, and they haven't picked their day yet. So if they sold those cattle for your August board basis or September board basis, and they haven't picked their day yet, they can pick that day, tell the buyer, okay, I'm ready to do it now, and then whatever they bought those cattle at under the board, then they can take advantage of the gains that they saw on the board. But it's really unclear where we're seeing this support come from, and I was talking to some guys today that watch the market really closely, and they say, well, the only thing we can figure is when the town drunk says, man, there's a lot of pressure on these cattle and they're going to go down, then it's time to go the other way. And it seems like that's when they're kind of doing it. But when we don't see any reason for any positives, that's when the positives show up on the board. We saw a little activity in Washington. We saw Senator Chuck Grassley call for a hearing from the Senate Ag Committee on the 5014 bill that he and John Tester introduced. He wants that to either be passed out of committee or added to the reauthorization of mandatory livestock price reporting. And so we would love to see that done. He feels like he's got enough support on the committee to get that passed. He just doesn't want them hiding that bill where they can't bring it to vote or get it pushed on to something that we know is going to go through, like the reauthorization of MPR. Let's talk about your board on Tuesday. June live cattle futures were down 87 cents at 93.52. Like I said, causing a bigger basis there and helping guys that are trying to sell fat cattle if they've got them hedged. August was up 207 at 97.20. Going out from there, and we saw your live cattle futures down 17 cents, and that was on your farthest out traded month, to up 130, and that was right after August there. But August feeder cattle up 145 at 133.20. September up 140 at 134.47. You going out from there, and they were up $1.17 to $1.52. Fat cattle trade, we saw a little bit more trade in the northern plains and the Midwest, nothing in the southern plains, but Iowa had confirmed sales on Tuesday, about 2,600 head, 97 to 98. We aren't even seeing anything at $1 right now. Nebraska 5,200 head at $97 live. And we saw some dress sales in both Iowa and Nebraska, 152 to 155. That'd be $2 to $5 lower. Box beef cutout values dropped some more after we thought that they had already hit the bottom when we're coming back up a little bit, but they fell a little bit more. Now they're really nearing the point where we were before we started seeing the results, the effects of coronavirus. But choice cuts 211.81, down 2 1/4. Selects 203.57, down 73 cents. Another impressive daily movement of 205 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction late on Tuesday at 129.85. That was up $1.27 as we saw, the effects of the higher cattle futures. Also, we saw more of your Northern Plains type sales coming into the index and raising that a little bit. Let's talk about some of your markets. Sometimes Tuesday it's hard to find a market as a lot of your bigger sales are running every other week, but we can go to Rezac Livestock Commission, St. Mary's, Kansas, and compare that. And we saw that on this automated market report from Cattle Market Central through DV Auction there, that your best tested weights and really your only tested weights of steers there were on your big feeder steers weighing 800 to 1,000 pounds. They were sure $5 to $6 higher. That's impressive. Let's look at your 8 weights. 396 head of those 8 weight steers averaged 860, 131.76 on the average. Very impressive for a bunch of 8 weight steers that averaged over 8.5. Now on your 9 weight steers, 299 head of those averaged 926 at 128.60. Nothing to sneeze at there. I got several individual quotes. How about Interstate Regional Stockyards out of Cuba, Missouri? We recently added those onto one of our broadcast markets on DV Auction. You can view and bid the sale there at Cuba every Tuesday there at their regular sale. How about this string of cattle coming from the local veterinarian there out of Sullivan, Missouri? 71 head, 742 pound steers bring $144. How about Brad Hahn over at Fredonia, Kansas there? Had a good sale at Fredonia Livestock Auction. Look at these home-raised steers, all black, right off grass. 65 head of those, 811 pounds at 139.75. Talked to the guys there at Fredonia. They're expecting a big sale for next Tuesday. Don't forget about it. Be thinking about it. They're going to have at least 40 loads of big, nice feeder cattle right off grass there from the eastern side of the Flint Hills there. Also having an in-house video, and they'll have several more strings of cattle offered there out of Fredonia, Kansas. How about Kimball Livestock Exchange, Kimball, South Dakota? Likely one of the biggest strings of cattle in one draft, one of the biggest we'll see all year long here, but 576 head of good black heavy feeder steers in one whack. They're local South Dakota bought steers there. They were backgrounded there right around Rehite, South Dakota. That's where Billy Etbauer and the brothers all come from. But these were Jim Waring's cattle there. They brought them into Kimball Livestock Exchange, sold them all in one whack. 576 head, 943 pound steers, all sell at 128.25 through the ring, Kimball, South Dakota. Best quote I saw anywhere come out of Kingsville Livestock Auction and Steins and Family right there. 120 head of black steers, weigh 867 from Bruce Mershon there, local cattle, 135.10. And that's your feeder flash for Wednesday.